Alright, what is going on, guys? Got another breakdown for UFC 283. This one is on the prelims at heavyweight. We got Jailton Almeida taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov. Almeida, 3 inches advantage in reach. They are the same height, and as you can see, Almeida, a huge favorite. 9-1 on DraftKings, 10-1 at some books. So I will try to keep this brief because I like Almeida too. Just going to try to go over how we're getting there real fast. So has primarily fought at light heavyweight in his career. He has taken fights at heavyweight along the way, and he seems to be just sticking there. I mean, I don't know if he's sticking there long term, but he seems to be one of these guys who has no problem bouncing around between weight classes. Does make me a little bit concerned at heavyweight because some of these heavyweights just hit so much harder. Like, perfect example is a guy like Chris Dawkins, just way too small. He cannot take a punch from Derek Lewis or Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And Almeida is a little bit on the smaller side of the heavyweight division. You know, he's kind of built like John Jones in a lot of ways. He's not exactly, but I think you get the picture. He's like a little bit more mobile. But the thing is the wrestling and jiu-jitsu are both just outstanding. You don't see this level of jiu-jitsu at the higher weight classes all that often, and I believe he has 11 wins by submission, maybe 10. He's already got a few in the UFC, including on the Contender series, Nasruddinov. Honestly, that is probably the last time his opponents have really been able to do anything to him, because in these last 3 fights, I don't even know if they've been able to get more than 5 strikes off before he gets the submission. But against Nasruddinov, he has to work for a couple takedowns, gets reversed, but he just goes to these body lock takedowns, gets 2 of them in the second round, and the way he builds to the submission is just very good. You know, you see fighters coming in with high-level jiu-jitsu credentials all the time, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to translate it well to an MMA fight. He seems to have the art of getting the submission in an MMA fight down to a science. He opens his opponents up with this heavy ground and pound, which is very heavy, and then he snatches the neck up. And as we saw against Danilo Marquez, he just kept pounding him. Marquez also well versed on the ground. A lot of his opponents have had trouble with his jiu-jitsu. It's won him some fights. Just no problem at all for Almeida. Just gets the ground and pound knockout there against Anton Turkalj, short notice opponent, and just dominated him as well. Same deal, opened him up with the ground and pound, got to that rear naked choke. So this is the type of fighter where if he gets to your back with like 3 minutes left, it's pretty much over. He's going to work his way into that submission, and he's going to find it. And if he doesn't get it, he's going to get the ground and pound knockout. And again, just no problems at all in these last 3 fights. Took Parker Porter down with ease, double leg, takes the whole round, building to that submission, does a lot of damage with ground and pound. In the meantime, gets the late submission. That's just been the story. And for Shamil Abdurakhimov, getting up there in age, hasn't won a fight since 2018. Fighting once a year these days, but you know these losses are to the top heavyweights, and he is Russian, so he may not age. We still have Alexei Oleinik in here at like age 46, so we don't know if he's definitely gassed. I mean, but his career is definitely trending downwards. It was never really trending up either. Like, he's not like a guy that was ever really looked at as like a top contender. He's just your standard middle of the pack UFC heavyweight, just these big lumbering heavyweights, opening fight on a bad pay-per-view or like the co-main on a fight night type of fighter. And that's where he's picked up some of his wins. You know, he beat Chase Sherman. Congrats. He beat Andrei Arlovsky by unanimous decision, which is a good win. That was in 2018 though. And he did beat Marcin Tybura too. Tybura was on a skid at that point, ended up going on a run, but that was a nice knockout. You know, Abdurakhimov does have tools for sure on the feet. He has that typical UFC lumbering style, UFC heavyweight lumbering style, but he kind of slows the fight down, and then he lands these really snappy left hooks that do a lot of damage for sure. He does have good kicking game. He'll go to some kicks that you wouldn't think somebody at his weight or like, you know, his build, let's say, will be able to pull off, but he does have some nice. He has some nice weapons in his arsenal, but he mostly just looks to try to slow the fight down, just make it really technical, and then land that counter. And he does have decent offensive wrestling, but you know, it's like UFC heavyweight offensive wrestling. I think that Jailton Almeida is just on a different level. So the question for this fight really comes down to, from a betting perspective, is like, do you want to take Almeida in the first round? Because like inside the distance, I'm probably going to take it if the odds are good, but it's probably going to be another one of these where it's like minus 300 for that. And I have PTSD from that from last week after taking Rombeski at like 11 to 1 and 3 to 1 for inside the distance. He doesn't come through. Just really sucked. I hate to lose props like that, but I just do think that Almeida gets the finish here, man. And I do think it's going to be by submission, but you never know. He could get the ground and pound knockout. It's going to be one or the other, I think. It's just how early do you think he's going to do it? You look at the under 1.5. It seems like the odds makers are expecting Almeida to take him down in the first round and just get to work. If that happens, I think he does get the finish in the first round. But, I mean, we'll see. I got a few days to decide. If I do bet it, it'll be on my betmma.tips profile, which is in the description box. So, yeah, definitely like Almeida in this one. Abdurakhimov, definitely dangerous on the feet for sure. And, if you worry about Almeida's size advantage, it does, generate a little bit of cause for concern. But he's a big favorite for a reason. He's very, very legit on the ground. And we don't see it that often at these weight classes. So I do like Almeida, probably by submission, but I'm going to look to see what we get for those double chance props. So thanks for watching, guys. Sure to subscribe, and take it easy.